It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Alaja Nima Akasha Zibiri.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I want to say thank you to the Governor of Lagos for being responsive. So there's actually a WhatsApp group where we drop bad roads and all of that and all of that. Myself and Auntie Ayo. Auntie Ayo used to be an NTA staff and she lives in Festac. She's very, very serious with this. Nima, bad roads, Nima, call out government, they need to change all of this. And I'll just say, hey, Shama, drop it. And you won't see them do anything. So she called me out and said, you don't talk about these things enough. I said, okay, I will improve on it. No, but no, on this particular one, we've been doing them together and I stopped talking about them after a while. And when on Wednesday I came on set and said, I stayed in that traffic for an hour for no reason, the bad patch between in front of La Casera company. And on Friday when I was coming, they had dropped granite there. Today, they had broken and leveled everything. So you can have trucks park, drive to. I know she'll be like, shut up. But I must say thank you that the governor is responding because I'm sure he made sure the offices who are on that WhatsApp group, you have a commissioner and all of them on those groups, that, you know, just turn a blind eye when we put the things on the group as if...
Sometimes they actually commission these things. The workers don't get mobilized on time. There are always different factors. So I remember what happened with my mom's area. They'd actually given out the job.
Oh, really?
That's major DS Street. And they started work on it, but different factors is not being delayed here and there, but hopefully it gets done soon. How are you doing? Is that all you happened the weekend?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you.
All right.
Because driving off like that this morning in 5 seconds is a relief.
How are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm good. I'm grateful to God for life, for health, business, family, and then I'm worried. And I know that it's still going to be our topic, but the way a government policy can turn people's livelihood into nothing worries me because I live off, my income stream is mainly on social media. And I'm wondering, may Nigeria not happen to your business? Because one person can just wake up and a policy will just take you off what is your source of livelihood. So I'm trying to open my website quickly and get people to sign up to that place so that my business can still continue even if social media is shut down. But it's tough being an entrepreneur in Nigeria, and we just need to keep on praying for ideas and wisdom for our leadership. I'm not even, there's nothing, I'm not insulting, I'm not even complaining. Right now, every morning, I am deliberately praying that God should give our leaders wisdom and ideas to move this nation forward.
Yeah. Mariam, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I had a lovely weekend. My friend's mom turned 60.
Oh,
and I went over to her place. And, you know, it was good to... This is a woman that she was very ill, you know, towards her 60th. And in her family, she says no one ever got to 60.
Wow.
So that 60 years
was like an
celebration. Yes, and she was so grateful for that. And she was so ill, she didn't even think she would make it. So happy birthday to her. But you know what was so sad was that the conversation around there was conversations around Plan B. Everyone is talking about how to get out of here. Everyone is afraid, worried. You know, there seems to be like a total, they've given up on this story in Nigeria, and they feel that if you can, you should leave. That's what every regular Nigerian is talking about. And, you know, we need to pray harder. You know, I've never been that prayer person where it is, we need to do work. Don't tell us to pray. But right now, that prayer plus action, our leaders need to sit up and let's turn this story around.
Well, and also, in addition to the leaders, we also have to take responsibility in our own part.
Yeah.
So in our tweeting, well, they've banned Twitter now, but in our messaging, in our conversations, we need to start uplifting each other. Because the truth is that somebody was telling me the other day that the E in hope has dropped. He's now hopping out. Like initially he had hope, but he has dropped the E right now.
And he's now hopping.
He's hopping and he's hopping out of the country. So, but at some point, we just need to face reality and prayer. Prayer is what we need right now, and wisdom, as you had said.
And I love your glasses.
Thank you. I went to get new glasses.
That's to work because hop, yes, you can, but how many of us can hop out?
You cannot hop into
Maserati. Carry as much as you can, and you still leave the larger.
You know, I'm wondering how Mariah would look down through. Just on a lighter note, You know what you usually do? Where she would drag the glasses down and
so
look
this
through.
is not varifocal. So
Okay,
now I
so
can
she
see.
can watch
I can
and-
see that. So
Oh.
I don't need to drop down. It has
Ah,
both.
I'm happy.
So I
I love
can
the
see
colours.
that.
I
I
was
can
just
see
wondering
that.
how she was
I
going
got
to do
4.
this.
Trust me. You see different kinds of
Those different colours.
different colors and different types.
I wonder if this will suit my
I would
husband.
never pick this. But the lady was like, right, you just have to pick it. I'm like, oh, this is not my style. Like, no, it looks great. So she picked 2. I picked my own 2, my regular conservative 2.
about to
She
see
picked the other 2. I'm like, okay, God Almighty. So
I decided to start with her.
yeah, I started with hers.
I love
Let's
it.
go on a break, thank you. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Right, let's start with the punch. Hashtag Twitter ban. Job losses loom, economic woes to worsen. NESG experts warn. Lady who lodged with boyfriend in Lagos hotel falls sick and dies. 34.3 kg cocaine, others seized at Lagos airport, 7 traffickers arrested. We're increasing forex to banks for SMEs, travelers, and tuition. No block asylum for IPOP applications will follow procedures, says UK. Confusion trails Atiku Soludo's campaign posters in Abuja. Banks commend 6.98 USSD charge, customers kick. And Igongon community fingers Wakil's family as 17 killed, fuel stations, houses, and others razed. Right. Let's start with the human interest story. Okay. This is a lady that fell sick.
This lady and her boyfriend lodged into a hotel in Festac, and suddenly she fell sick. She started to vomit and then remove foamy substances from her mouth. The boyfriend called for help. He called the managers of the hotel to assist him. They rushed her, but they got to the hospital and she was declared dead on their way to the hospital. The manager then reported the matter to the police station, and they said that investigating. But of course, I can only imagine, knowing our justice system, what the boyfriend will be going through right now. You know, so I pray that, you know,
the investigation will also include an autopsy, because it did have been
that's the proper thing. But you know, he will be made to come or either detained. He will be made to suffer double, maybe before his innocence is declared. And even though it's declared after investigation, he will be made to pay money if he will not be charged. You know.
Yeah.
All right,
So
let's take
let me take the NDLEA
NDLEA.
story.
Go ahead, please.
So 7 drug traffickers have been arrested by NDLEA. They were it looked like they were about to import into Nigeria and also export to the UK and Italy some illicit drugs, cocaine, heroin, cannabis, weighing about 37.3 kilograms. They say how it first happened. This Agudozie Peter Ehie, on the 25th of May, had been arrested. He had about 36 pellets of cocaine in his pants. He said he had ingested the drug in Kenya, and then en route, in transit, he felt really pressed, and so he vomited, put the thing out, excreted it out into his pants, and then when he was arrested, he excreted 40 more pellets out. I mean, the story is just the things that they even have to go through to do this.
He was coming from Kenya,
yes,
en route to Italy, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think he said another group of a couple of freight forwarders also were caught because heroin was found in large quantities as well, and that one they had gotten it from Benin in Edo State and trying to take it to Italy. Thankfully, NDLEA is catching them, but you can imagine how normal this business has become, that we are catching people almost every day.
I know Twitter ban is our hot topic later, but I'll just mention the fact that the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and other economic experts have said that Nigeria's Twitter ban was ill-advised and was wrong for the federal government to put a lot of people's businesses in jeopardy, as this would definitely worsen economic situation in Nigeria. You're going to take the USSD, sir?
Yeah. So one, the USSD, the Central Bank of Nigeria they've approved the 6.98 naira for every USSD transaction, which is your text message.
Was 5 naira?
Yeah, okay. No, at first it was free. Then they said they were going to bring in the charges.
Yeah.
And now the complaint is that they're going to be excluding a lot of the markets who cannot afford that. This would threaten financial inclusion, because many people use the USSD to transfer money to each other, and that this would not be possible. Then they're advising that people should take advantage of other payments options and payment platforms. But there's another thing I want to take, another story still on the economy, the same from the CBN. CBN is saying they're going to create a hotline that they have released Forex for banks, deposit banks. That,
SMEs?
No. To allow both SMEs, payment of tuition, healthcare issues. If you have all the documentation, no bank should not allow you access dollar at the correct rate. Okay. But banks are not giving people money, even when they have correct documentation, and they're saying the banks have money, the banks will soon get penalized for not releasing dollars when they are collecting it to those who need it for healthcare, tuition needs,
this is just
and
criminal.
SMEs.
So CBN gives you dollar and you just hoard it because you want to...
They're waiting for you to appreciate or something, whatever.
Moving on to the nation. We scam each other. We're just a bunch of scammers. The nation.
No. Not all of us.
Not all of us.
Not all of us, but the system.
Southwest governors okay Amotekun's joint operations. Our kids are behaving strangely, says parents of children of the forestry school in Kaduna. TB Joshua's last moments by church. IPOB strongman Dragon killed in fire for fire with police. And NSA orders shutdown of illegal security outfits. Okay, who has the Amotekun story?
The Southwest.
The Southwest, yes.
Okay, so the Southwest governors, I have the major headline and the key.
Yes, go ahead, take
So the following what happened in Oyo,
yes, the
Southwest governors have, given a command to the Amotekun unit to work together across state borders to forestall this kind of thing subsequently. Basically, and now speaking on behalf of the governors is the governor of Ondo State again.
Okay, so the students, we remember the recently adopted and released students of the School of Forestry in Kaduna State. It's been 30 days, the parents have said, and that in these 30 days, they've noticed that their children are behaving strangely. Right. So obviously, there's a psychological effect and trauma from what they have been through, and they had been expecting some form of compensation from the government, as well as from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, to help towards the rehabilitation of the children and some form of therapy and counseling, but nothing like that has been done yet. Please, if we're unable to protect our children from being kidnapped, if we're unable as a government to negotiate with kidnappers and pay for their ransom, and parents have done that, we should in this way at least pay for them to get some form of counseling and, rehabilitation. These children are going to grow up to become adults and be part of society. We don't want damaged children.
It's very important that they have psychological help.
Yes.
It's very important that they have that therapy done for them.
Yes.
But let's not monetize it as payment, because the headline is not, clear. I would expect that as they return, just as they did for the freed Chibok girls at the time, put together a team that helps them through the trauma that they went through.
Okay, I was going to take the story of the IPOB man. There's a man, Joseph Ukanachi, alias Dragon. The police had said that he was killed in a gun battle when they were trying to raise police headquarters in, I think it's Imo State. And the police spokesman, Bala Elkanah, has said that Dragon was killed. He and his gang were neutralized before they could take over the headquarters. According to him, this man, Joseph Uka Dragon, he has been responsible for 70% of the killings that's happened in Southeast, and he's one of the members of IPOB and ESN. Moving on now to, I think we're going to go on a quick break. Let me see. When we come back, we continue with the review. Who's taking talk, TB Joshua?
I am, but I'll take it
when we come back. All right. When we come back, we'll continue with the review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Bloody weekend. 45 killed, scores injured, Obas Palace, 60 houses, 165 vehicles razed in alleged herdsmen attack in Oyo. Also 6 killed as gunmen razed police station in Delta. Local government chairman's homes also razed in Imo. Defend yourself against attack, Akeredolu tells his people. Kanu lawyer's house attacked, 2 feared killed. Kaduna military warns NLC against power cut. Insecurity, Archbishop Kaigama predicts famine in Nigeria. NDDC, fresh danger as Niger Delta monarchs raise alarm over Sylvia Akpabio's tussle. Nigeria at crossroads as oil price nears $75 per barrel. Buhari, Jonathan, Governors Kalu, Arthur Eze, others mourn Prophet TB Joshua. Let's talk about Prophet TB Joshua for a minute.
Okay, yes.
Go ahead, Mariam.
So over the weekend, we heard of the sad news, the passing of Prophet TB Joshua, a well-known televangelist and the founder of Synagogue Church of Nigeria. Of all nations, I'm so sorry. There have been messages, of course, from all across the country and Africa. So many people in different African countries have sent their messages. And they say he died a week to his 58th birthday. And, you know, many people were there mourning. He's mostly also, apart from his preaching, and he's very much remembered for his philanthropy. They said Forbes estimated that he has spent over $20 million towards philanthropy. He's donated towards education, healthcare, restored electricity in 4 local government councils, paid for people to scholarships up to the tune of £100,000 for someone who wanted to do his PhD in Oxford University. Paid for, made donations to the police force in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Colombia. So this is a man that is very close to the hearts of many people, and our hearts goes out to his family, first of all, and all the members
I remember when the Okada helmet was compelled in Lagos. He was the very, very first person to go into Ikotun, that community in Alimosho, then and donate helmets to all Okada riders in around his church at the time. But,
may his soul rest in peace.
So rest in peace. Yeah.
Okay, another story.
Yeah. Many stories. I want to take what is our hot topic, the major headline we're discussing.
Well, go ahead, tell us what the paper said.
The paper just gave account of the fact. Let me just take about the 45 bodies in Igogon, saying that the PRO of the police command has said that there were AK-47 magazines with 25 live ammunition. 45 people were said to have been sent to their early grave within the town. 50 people came on 20 motorcycles. They attacked the town for about 5 hours, killed 45 people, burnt about 60 houses within this same community that an attack took place in February of this same year. The community leaders are saying that this is a bloodbath, and the Secretary of the Farmer Association is seeking how to peacefully resolve the issues. They're saying many lives were lost during the invasion, and residents that were not even farmers were shot dead. And it's worrisome.
There's one story, I don't think it's anywhere else. The Kaduna, so we know the NLC is also about to embark on the second phase of its strike, and the Nigerian military is saying that it should not affect TC and the electricity like they did the last time. And this is because they have bombs that are in strategic locations, and they are kept, they are specially kept within a certain temperature. And when electricity goes out, we can have the repeats of the 2002 Ikeja cantonment bomb blast. And so they're asking NLC that whatever you do, please do not have this affect the electricity. And they said that they were warned the last time, and that the military had to, you know, it was so close that this would go, these bombs would go off the last time, and this was even after they had warned NLC. And so they are telling them now beforehand, whatever you do, be careful.
I hope NLC is hearing and TCN is hearing.
I was going to take the story,
cost of petrol.
Cost of petrol. So the good news, well, supposed to be good news, the fact that the oil prices hit $72 over the weekend, and they are expecting it to hit $75 pretty soon. Although this is supposed to be good news, but for Nigeria, it might not be very good news, because we had planned our budget on the benchmark of $40, which is, so it means that we're supposed to have surplus. But unfortunately, because we are still paying 112 billion naira subsidy monthly, that all would go away. So this isn't really good news for us, but across the world, it's great news that dollar prices is getting the Brent crude that which we have, and we don't have refineries, and we are still paying that subsidy, and that money that's supposed to have been saved would that be used to pay others.
Please let me take the story of Biafra. Kanu's lawyer. There was an attack. The police has denied the attack, but according to the people that were there, 2 people were killed in the attack on the lawyer for Nnamdi Kanu's house. And they said they took his brother as well as his PA. His PA was shot dead. This, they said, happened about 15 Hilux vans came into his home, his house. They broke into the house, tried to find the particular lawyer. The NBA, that's the Nigeria Bar Association, already said that this is wrong, that they are denying this lawyer is doing his job, representing someone, and that he shouldn't be attacked because of who he's representing. Though, like I said, the police has already said they are unaware of that attack.
Moving on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story we've not taken at all. 6 years and 2 trillion naira after electricity distribution stalls at 3,000 megawatts. Government invade Delta community, bomb police station with IEDs. Our children exhibiting abnormal behavior, parents of Africa students cry out. Onion marketers threaten to stop supply to South from today. And PDP blasts APC over Twitter ban as Nigeria lost 4.4 billion naira in 2 days. Let's take the onion story. You have that story, Nima?
I have the onion story. The Association of Onion Marketers have given an ultimatum to government to compensate for their losses suffered so far. For every time they try to bring goods down south, they are attacked. They cited the one that happened in Oyo. They cited the one that happened recently in Enugu and every other area that they are actually giving July 7th as their deadline, but in the papers this morning, they extended to July 11th for government to respond to what they had suffered. They counted their losses from the number of trucks burnt, number of goods, the amount of goods, I think about 4.something billion naira worth of onions, destroyed and distributed without because to how much the investors are losing, and asking government to assist them in some way. I think they should be assisted. I think it's unfair that, somebody farms, grows and harvests his onions and then do not make profit from it because we are divided.
Not make anything, not even profit.
Not make anything. They lose entirely. And, even lose cost of production, including of trucks and all, logistics and all of that. So government should please look into this.
I wanted to story of electricity. So 6 years after, 2 trillion naira spent, and yet our power output is stalled at 3,000 megawatts. The report carries it that at April this year, that about 78% of electricity consumers in Nigeria have less than 12 hours, and that 78% of 84%, no, actually 93% of those that are metered actually pay. So invariably, it means that if Nigerians are metered, they will pay for their electricity, and that the excuse of saying it is liquidity is not tenable. Give power to people, meter them, and you will get your money out. But we can't spend 2 trillion naira so far, and we still haven't seen major improvements in the power sector.
Remember that they've given it to some private sector.
And still, there's still something going on.
Actually help us to provide the meters, assemble in Nigeria and sell.
But it's still a tedious process.
The report of the nation actually carried how much megawatts per, our power plants across the country. Egbi, which is the largest, is about 750 megawatts. And, so they continue to reduce like that.
Below capacity.
Working below capacity. And the TCN too are not able to transmit as much megawatts as possible. So the total is 3,000 plus.
We need to call out these, I think about 4 or 3 companies that have given the rights to actually bring in.
But we should invest in, our plants. How can EGMI be making 750 megawatts?
Okay, so we know now
just
to Vanguard.
The amount, trillions of naira.
Final paper, Vanguard. Let's find a story not taken again. Twitter ban, be ready to build thousands of prisons, Ozekome tells Malami.
Yeah.
Chekau killed himself, says ISWAP. Igongo massacre, callous and provocative, says Southwest governors. Police battle unknown gunmen in Owerri, kill 5. Let's find another story. 17 wedding guests die in auto crash on the Zaria Kano Road. I read that story too. NDDC strike force unit commanders on standby. If says militant leader. Let's take the
Mike Ozekome.
Yes,
that's what I have. So Mike Ozekome, the senior advocate of Nigeria and human rights lawyer, has said that the Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, lacks the power to make laws through declarations or pronouncements, and this is his reaction towards the Twitter ban and Malami's announcing that people who are found using Twitter after this ban will be prosecuted. And he says that only the National Assembly has the exclusive preserve to make laws in the country. And he says that he also wished that the government use this same sense of urgency concerning our insecurity problems, our economic problems, the rising corruption, that is pervading everything. And also asking that Juson should please call off the strike. And when he said that, it just reminded me that Juson is still on strike.
Yes.
Call off the strike so that Nigerians are able to get to the courts and, challenge the excesses of the federal government.
The killing that took place on
auto crash? Which
yes,
killing?
The auto crash. 17 wedding guests
They were not
died.
killed though. They died.
They died. Yeah.
They are used to saying killing.
Auto crash. They were going from Zaria to Kaduna, and it was a head-on collision. They said that it was at a diversion point of the road, and they said that somebody was trying to overtake. Now, I traveled a lot last year, and I understand what happens. People, when you divert, they are facing each other, and we need to teach ourselves to comply by the rules. This has led to the loss of 17 lives, 10 on the spot. The several others died later. Avoidable death. Condolence messages has come from the governor of El Rufai as well as Ganduje, saying this is a shock and appealing to drivers to please maintain speed limits on the expressway and wait your turn because we would avoid this loss of life.
Our hearts go out to the family. Yeah. 17 young men, bright young men. Very, very sad indeed. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we can move on to our hot topic for the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before we go into the Twitter ban conversation, it's important for us to hear your thoughts initially on the killings that happened. I know we'll be having our guest very soon to be telling us exactly his thoughts on what happened in Oyo State. However, based on our paper review today and based on what the governor had said, the governor of Ondo State, according to him, was speaking on behalf of, I think, about 4 of the states in Southwest. He didn't mention Lagos amongst them. It was Oyo, Ekiti, Ogun, and Osun. And they were saying that people must begin to defend themselves. I don't know what that means. I don't know what does it mean by defend yourself? And what are your thoughts on this, especially because people, I saw some really gory pictures, horrendous pictures that it's difficult to explain on television. You have to go online. I think Twitter is not available, so many people do not get those raw pictures. If we had Twitter, many people have actually seen the gravity of what was on ground. But some social media platforms did carry some pictures, and it was quite a painful thing to see, not just in the Southwest, and I think also in Imo, we've been seeing quite a few of these pictures. But when it comes to family, children, homes being razed, we hear the police stations, we heard those public facilities. But when it comes to homes, private citizens, and you think to yourself, what is the government doing? What is the response? What's the collective response? What are the individual responses? How do we go about this? And very soon we'll be having Are Onokakanfo joining us to let us know what his thoughts. Okay, I'm told that he's on now. We have with us the generalismo of Yoruba, Are Onokakanfo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sir Are. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Are Gani Adams.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We read the papers and everybody is quite distraught about the happenings over the weekend. And would like to hear what the next line of action is. So, but first, could you just give us a recap of exactly what happened, the numbers of victims, and if you have a real assessment of what exactly took place over the weekend?
Well, what happened in London is highly devastating. And it was a shocking incident. The criminal Fulani herdsmen invaded that community 11 p.m. on Saturday. And they the wicked operation against our people lasted about 3.5 hours, from 11 to 2:30. And in the process, the palace of Ashikon, the order of the community, was raised down. A filling station, only filling station in that community was raised down, and about 15 houses was burned. A total of about 50 people was killed because the body you saw was the one that was recovered from the community. Some people that was running into the bush was killed. Some of them, I believe today, they will still be recovering somebody because the total numbers of the people, the figures they told us yesterday, is about 50. And the attack was highly calculated. And last week, Tuesday, I was in our meeting and I was warning our people, especially Yoruba leaders, that we should praise us. That the intelligence report in my disposal is that we have been invaded, we have been infiltrated, and these people have stockpiled different arms and ammunition within us in the southwest region. And that was exactly, and General Togun too, as a chairman of Amotekun in Oyo State, raised the same issues through his own intelligence report that the Fulani herdsmen from neighboring West African states have invaded Yoruba land, which I collaborated in a major newspaper on Saturday morning. So, unfortunately, the issue happened on Saturday evening to Sunday morning.
Right. Okay, sir. This is truly a sad story. In the papers, it said that the members of the community tried to reach security operatives, but their phones were switched off. So in the north and the middle belt, where I've seen this happen, what you would normally hear is, oh, you know how the villages and the communities in the north are, they're so far away from civilization. So before you even get to them, but the Yoruba communities are much more, closer to each other, and security operatives should be closer to communities like that. Could you tell us, in your opinion, and based on your assessment, what exactly happened that they were unable to reach security operatives during the raid for 3 whole hours?
Well, it's 3.5 hours. In my own position, I've lost hope on Nigerian security on the basis of protecting the citizenry. Because in the actual point, we have a police station, not police post, in Igogon. And the men in that police station, they are about 15 to 20. And in my own opinion, I may not have a concrete information. I think in their armory, they will have nothing less than 4 or 5 AK-47. And we're not even talking of the police station in Igogon. This operation lasts for about 3.5 hours. And in that situation, they're supposed to signal all the police in Ibarapa, which they will have nothing less than 50 to 100 men to repair these people. Because those who carry this operation, those criminals that carry this operation, they are about 80. So with the Nigerian police, civil defense, I think they have the opportunity to repair them. The highest hours to come to that rescue, come to Igogon for their rescue is 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And if you monitor my statement against the Commissioner of Police, I have issued statement twice that the IGP should redeploy Mrs. Ngozi as the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police of that state have connived with the criminal Fulani herdsmen to commit havoc in Yoruba land. Because anything that happened in Oyo State has affected the entire Yoruba land, because Oyo State was the center, and they have the highest mass land in Yoruba land. So I thought there is a serious foul play and the element of connivance from the federal security agencies and the federal government. I read a statement and listened to the president raising my eyebrow on what is happening in the southeast against the public institutions like police station being burned, INEC office. But it's unfortunate the president could not react to what happened in Igogon. for more than 14 hours when this ugly incident happened. And we haven't seen the same head of state, the commander-in-chief, coming out that how can my citizen be killed like a chicken like this? It's the first citizen. So definitely, I think Yoruba should take their destiny on their own hands.
All right, let me get a few more questions. If we have very little time.
And make sure and prepare a strategy to defend ourselves against all this ugly pushing of courage.
All right, just
so
let me
I feel so sad because we had this conversation a few weeks back, and like a month ago, and I remember you saying that, oh, we have intelligence reports that we always send to the security operatives. When you say put taking security into our hands, we have Amoteku, we have OPC. My thought was that if we are calling in case of emergency, we're calling out to the police, people should also have the contacts of Amoteku and other local vigilantes that could be reached out to. How come it is in the morning that we're seeing this quantum level of, the videos are gory. This shouldn't happen in a country that has police, Amoteku and OPC and vigilante association. It shouldn't happen. These people somebody should be within reach to come and quell this attack.
Well, unfortunately, the men of OPC are ready to defend the Yoruba people. But I can tell you categorically, we saw an element of connivance of even some high-power Yoruba people to set the group up so that the group can be tagged as terrorists, or most of the leaders of the group can be arrested and detained. As I'm talking to you, the 3 men that hand over Wakili to Oyo State Police Command are still in Agodi prison on trump-up charges. And most of the men of OPC that was assisting some community, at the end of the day, they were being frustrated. If not because of the support of OPC in many Yoruba communities, they could have been worse. Not even only OPC, we are talking of the hunters, vigilantes, and other relevant security groups. They are trying their best. But in a situation that even the Yoruba leaders and some monarchs are not cooperating to give them the normal backing, it will be extremely difficult to do that job because at the end of the day, they will tag you that you are taking law into your hands.
Let me just throw in one final question for you before we run off. Yes, Nima.
Okay, so now that this has happened, what I expect is that, some form of justice is met. Somebody is arrested. The intelligence report that the head of the Amoteku had given was that, they were infiltrating. We can at least find those infiltrators wherever they are now and make them pay for this crime. Is it completely impossible, in your view, sir?
Police.
And what are the next steps?
Well, let me tell you, there is limit Amoteku can do. Because the Amoteku, they didn't allow Amoteku to carry the main rifle and ammunition. And even the people recruited to Amoteku, some of them operate with their individual day guns, local guns, without even state government buying bullets for them to support them. Because the National Security Advisor, because of their evil plan, deliberately not approving the Amoteku to carry arms to face criminals. The state government have tried all their possible best to convince the National Security Advisor that the life and property of their citizens is being threatened. But the federal government and the security advisor refuse to approve Amoteku by carrying arms. And you can't accept them to use their sticks to confront hardened criminals. They trade criminals, maybe in the process they are SWAT or AXIS or Boko Haram. And even in the level of OPC, it's a private organization. It's not a government organization. Even the government have never even called OPC that you should give them a total support. But we know in some of the states in Oyo State, they tactically call them for backup. And
we have to wrap up with you.
The Yoruba is kind of a race. Let me tell you the attributes of Yoruba. We don't prepare, we always react. And in my own time as the area of Okakampo, I want to change that character. I've been calling them that, a tree cannot make a forest, although a tree can change a forest.
All right, sir, we have to run.
All our offers.
Alright, we have to run.
Rally around and form a strategy to defend the Yoruba race outside the plans of federal government.
All right.
That's the only way.
Thank you very much, Are. We'll be speaking with the Generalism of Yoruba Land, Are Onakakanfo, Gani Adams. Let's go on a break now. When we come back, move on to the other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So over the weekend, the federal government announced the indefinite suspension of Twitter's operations in Nigeria, according to the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. The suspension was due to the persistent use of the platform for activities that are capable of undermining Nigeria's corporate existence. Joining us now on the show is a youthful and vibrant legal practitioner, Adebayo Razaq. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, good to have you. You can also call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet us from heaven.
We are no longer tweeting at the moment.
My brain doesn't. So you can now comment on our Facebook.
Yes, our Facebook is CVC Connect. I will read your comments. So go to Facebook.
Imagine that. My brain just...
You need to cut it out.
No longer
you need to cut it out.
You can no longer tweet to us at... Okay. So, welcome to the show, Mr. Razaq. It's always good to have young people have a conversation on this. Now, everybody obviously was shocked to get this information from the federal government saying that we're indefinitely suspending Twitter. And obviously, everybody has responded, even the US, Canada, I think EU, and a few other global organizations have come forward to say this was a wrong move. In fact, NESG also said that this was ill-advised. And people have been talking about all the various effects of this ban. But let's start in your own view, understanding Twitter. Some have said the toxicity of Twitter streets is you can't compare it anywhere else. Was it the right decision at the time for the federal government to make this ban, in your view, considering how toxic Twitter have been in the past?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, what I would say is that the federal government's action was more of a reactive action than a proactive one. And that explains why it has attracted a lot of criticism, even from the international community, when you talk about international politics and all that. They're saying this and that, suppression of fundamental human rights to expression and so many other things. We've seen the president of the small and medium-scale enterprises coming also to explain the adverse economic effect of this ban on particularly the small and medium-scale industry. The National Economic Summit Group has also come to say, look, the digital economy of Nigeria is suffering a major setback. Talked about things like unemployment. The legal personnel has also come in to say, look, this action is by and large illegal, and that there was a better way for this to have been achieved. And I also want to agree with all this, respective states and non-state actors who've said that, clearly the federal government's action, it's not the best at this time that we are in right now. Go ahead, please.
Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and,
yes.
And Twitter is a corporation registered in the US, and they pay their taxes abroad. Yes. And they have so much power. We've seen it tested during #EndSARS. We've seen it tested with the promotion of everything IPOP. And I mean everything, every obscene things that you can hardly believe. Imagine false news and all of that going unchecked except until reported on Twitter. So do you think that the federal government should answer to a corporation, not even registered within its shores or even paying taxes here? Should we be subject to such an arrangement as a sovereign nation?
Well, I think that when you talk about the sovereignty of Nigeria, I think that there is not single corporate entity or individual who should, by any means or for any reason, trump over the sovereignty of the country. I do agree with that. I mean, for example, in Uganda now, there's what you call social media tax in Uganda, where you find the government putting in place certain parameters to allow social media operators such as Twitter and the rest of them, maybe through their virtual private network, through either the Ministry of Communication and Information, whereby you can regulate activities, either for the purpose of tax. You can also find in extreme places like maybe Saudi Arabia, Iran, Syria, and the rest of them, who have also taken out measure in order to protect their national sovereignty and their corporate existence, placing some level of restriction on these platforms, maybe for political reasons, some for religious reasons. And you've also seen it maybe a place like China. But what you find is this, that, I mean, wherever this is taking place, for example, the case study of China, where you have these restrictions, you also have provisions, or you also have the level of technological advancement that such countries also carry in order to be able to bridge the gap between an external introduction and an homegrown facility that can serve the same purpose, either economically or otherwise.
We don't have
and I want us to remember something, that this administration, particularly things that we have always enjoyed through the classic media platform like the TV and the newspaper, in democratic governance, such as media chats and the rest of that, have been totally absent in this administration. And Twitter, a platform like Twitter, has served as the best alternative for government to reach out to the people and for the people to reach out to one another amongst themselves. Yeah. And so I personally believe that at the point where that happened, it was more of the person of the president that was not happy with the position of that corporation rather than Nigeria as a country. And if we want to base the argument on the fact that, the effect of Twitter and the NSAS movement, I'll quickly say this, that the panels of inquiry are still ongoing. Facts and evidences are still being brought forward. Right. Discussions are ongoing, and that we must not put the cat before the horse.
Okay, so my own is, this has happened. Twitter deleted the comment, and we felt, and the presidency and the office of the president felt that it was wrong to have done that. I was of the opinion that the president could have excused himself from Twitter. After all, I would have thought he would say, see, going forward, all correspondence, all pronouncements and announcements coming from the office of the president or the presidency would be gotten through this other channel or our website, so that we can keep the integrity of the message to Nigerians instead of via Twitter. After all, Twitter is not in the constitution that we must use it. Yeah. And the president has the right to either be on it or not be on it. Is that something that could have been done? Has it been done before? Yeah. And Nigerians know that, okay, when we want information from the presidency, this is where we go instead of Twitter.
Yes. I will draw a simple case study to the case of Donald Trump in the United States. And I mean, this was exact statement. After the looting, then would come the shooting. And Twitter is a private platform. And there are rules and regulations on this platform. If you're going to enjoy the benefit of something, you must also walk by the rules of that particular platform. Immediately, Donald Trump did what? His account was also suspended while being the president of the United States of America and as the president of the free world. And he found an alternative. It wasn't an offense against the government of the United States. It was an issue between a private platform and the person of Donald Trump. And the presidency must know that, if they've enjoyed the benefits of the outreach, either publicity for their programs and policy, and they've been able to curry, a lot of fans and followership through Twitter, whenever you engage on that platform and you're not playing by the rules, you should expect that such a thing would happen. And it also brings us back to that position where we ask ourselves as public office occupiers that, what action do we take that begins to represent the fact that this is suppression of human rights or suppression of, rights of expression, of, political intolerance and the rest of it. And the president must be very careful so that in taking decisions or going in certain directions, that those actions are not communicated as it is now to the international community, to the economic sectors and the rest of us, to citizens, that this is not the right thing to do.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our legal practitioner, Mr. Adebayo Razaq, with us. I had a question before the break. Go ahead.
Okay, so I realize that there are many countries that have successfully created a structure to limit the powers or limit the abuse, let me put it right, the abuse of social media, because we can agree that many people have taken this freedom of speech a bit too far and spreading lies consistently, causing major mayhem across the world. But our country's reaction was very reactionary, and it speaks wrong to our ability to maintain the rule of law. And when somebody is hurt or uncomfortable, a policy can be changed, which would also reduce the level of trust international investors would have in our ability to maintain our sides of the arrangement. And I want to give you an example of, example of how India went about this, because India also had issues with Twitter, and they created a law. And Twitter gave, India created a law that signed into law a management system that every social media should put in place, and gave a time frame of 3 months for them to effect that system. And if they didn't effect the system, which happened in May, they were going to be banned. But there was like a thought towards the process, a law to back it up, which is why Nigerians are asking that, please, on what basis would our Attorney General try Twitter users? Like, as a lawyer, what's the law backing the prosecution of Twitter users? Is there a law banning Twitter? And is there a law that they would use to prosecute Twitter users that are using VPN?
All right. In respect to the position of the Attorney General, with due respect to his person and his office, I would say that the Constitution is clear. Nothing is an offense in Nigeria except it's prescribed by law, and the punishment thereof, also prescribed. But however, we can quickly draw our mind to, the criminal code. I think Section 50 and 51 talks about sedition. And, sedition basically is saying that publishing materials that are capable of inflaming, creating crises, inciting the public against the government. But the problem and why the Office of the Attorney General has not referred to that law, or in all that's been said in respect to regulation of social media, that particular law has not been referred to. Now, it has to do with the judgment. I think it's Otto Nwako against the state. And it had to do with when Chief Jim Iwodo was a governor of a state, and this particular person had published articles, that the state considered as inciting or insulting or capable of inflaming. And, he was sentenced to a year imprisonment. But there was an appeal at the Court of Appeal, and that judgment was overturned. And the basis of overturning that judgment is this, that the law of sedition, or that talks about publication of things that are considered to be inflammatory within the society or causing unrest, that those laws are primitive to democratic practice. And that as long as we are in the dispensation of democracy, that the government must be willing, the government must also be open-hearted to criticism, dissenting opinions, and that even the law on sedition itself provides that as long as what is considered to be sedition is done in the interest of pointing the governor or the president to an ill doing or to a misnomer or a maladministration within the context of that democratic practice, that can no longer be known as sedition. So what the law is basically saying is that in democracy, if something is wrong, the power belongs to the people. The people has the responsibility of the utmost responsibility of check and balance within the society. They must be able to call for accountability from the government. The government must be willing and transparent enough to give the people a sense of belonging in governance by ensuring that when they are checked, they are not vindictive about it, you know, and that democracy is not dictatorial, or is it a suppressive regime?
So let me ask you, this is a personal view now, your personal view. So do you think our democracy is mature enough? Because we've seen this play out in other countries where people incite. You know, we've seen what happened during Donald Trump's time. You could see there were various factions of different people, people on this side, on that side, you either left or on the right side. And somehow they were still able to come over that and agree at some point. But our democracy is such that, do you think it's mature to the point where people are actually given that full right? Because I question, yes, we want a democracy, but if you are easily ticked off by people's dissenting views, then it's not a democracy anymore. So how do we begin to mature this democracy such that the leaders we have can understand and have that maturity to know that people would have dissenting views?
Well, the person that should be speaking up for the people at the National Assembly. And I'm wondering how quiet they have been concerning this.
Thank you very much. I said this. I mean, I always say it wherever I get the opportunity to say that. You see, in democracy, you have politics and then you have governance. And there's a clear, distinct line between what is governance and what is politics. You know, politics is what you go to the ballot box to do. After that process is complete, what is left is governance. And so the Nigerian political class must come to a place where they understand that governance is all-encompassing. And that in governance, you know, the biggest check, the biggest, you know, responsibility is to the people. And I would like to re-echo our position in respect to the legislative institution. The legislative institution is that institution that's supposed to drive either the direction or the development of democracy in any institution, in any political space, because they are the conscience of the people. I mean, they have the responsibility and the power of the people to act within a democratic setting. And they are supposed to safeguard the excessive use of power, of political power by the executive class. It's basic knowledge. Executive make the laws. The executive execute the laws. The legislature make the laws. The judiciary is supposed to enforce. But when we have in our politics an executive that makes the law, enforces the law, then that's a destruction of the concept of democracy. And that's why we must come back to this position where we say, now, the federal government or the executive government cannot by any means, if he has a problem with anybody in the community or in the society, they must also go to the court to establish their rights or to get justice where that is necessary and not take laws into their hands.
Let's put issues out there clearly. The president had tweeted, and some people didn't like the use of language. And it was criticized, and days after, it got to Twitter taking it down. People reported his tweets. And what's his name? Adamu Garba, speaking on behalf of the president. No, Adamu Garba. Speaking on behalf of the president was like, you know, the Nnamdi Kanu's tweets are more inciting, and they've been out there. Nothing has been done by Twitter to them, and you know their checks. Let's understand how Twitter gets to take down the tweets. Do we need to report every tweet that is taken down? Do they have language flag off that, you know, that helps them take down certain words? What exactly happens to tweets?
We're going to break. When we come back, we'll look at that. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, Nima had asked a question concerning how this works. Would you like to respond to that?
In respect to this particular case study, this is how it works on Twitter now. You have an account with Twitter. You put on an information there. Now, let's remember that, you know, there's a back end. And this is what happens there. There are policies on that platform that talks about what one can do and one cannot do on the platform. For example, things that could be offensive on the basis of religion, on the basis of culture, or even on the basis of humanity generally. And so there are keywords that are on the back end that once you put them in, it flags up immediately. That's one level of check. The second level of check is this, that don't forget that this is globalization, is a community of people or a community of businesses interacting on one platform or virtual platform. And so most times you are either sending out a message to a group of people or to an individual. And so people who view that message or receive that message also have capacity to report that message as being inciting or offensive, either on the basis of culture,
but that's where
religion.
The issue is, because I know, sorry to cut you, that's where the issue is, because I think we must also acknowledge that some of these things are flawed. Because we've seen, I think it was a blogger, I think it was that people came out together and reported a certain post so many times that it was flagged and he lost his page. This happened to a few celebrities where people just have this vendetta against you and report before you know it, they pull it. So their system also is flawed such that if people can just maliciously come up with something against someone, they can do that and pull and then it flags it.
But so they also have a system to report. You know, if your post was unlawfully brought down, you can write a mail to the company and appeal what has been done. Our government didn't follow the due process, but decided to react to the situation without following.
They could have fixed that problem.
They could have fixed that problem. They could have followed what India did, which is create a law. India created a law and said, both Facebook and Twitter must have an Indian office with an Indian representative, someone that they can talk to as a government if they feel something is wrong there. That is a process. That is where the government wants to solve the problem. There's this guy called Farouk Kwarogi. I really want to read him. He said you can ban Twitter, or you cannot ban rebellion against injustice. That Nigeria isn't dysfunctional or insecure because of social media. It is dysfunctional and insecure and totally perilously on the brink because of the government's inability to bring us together.
Hallelujah.
So it's not by banning, it's by gathering us together.
This, but I think I'll let you have the final words on this because we have to run.
I want to round up with a position, and I believe that, you know, Twitter itself is a means, it's not the end in itself. And it's merely a platform. And it can adopt itself into be a social political platform. It can be a social economic platform. It can even be a social cultural or ethno-religious platform. So it's the different users who then bring their views and establish it or communicate it through the medium of Twitter. And what my own simple advice to the government would be is this, that while we believe that the corporate existence of Nigeria is very sacrosanct and must be protected at all costs, because I also believe in one Nigeria. However, in respect to this particular matter, the government must find a people more oriented approach to solving this problem. And they must, again, reassure the people that this is not about suppression. This is not about public abuse of trust or of office of power. This is not about intolerance, that they are genuinely interested in Nigerians and not themselves.
Right. Thank you very much. We have to wrap up. In addition to the people-oriented approach, it must be the people-oriented people. Because the way you say it, who you say it, and how you say it is also very important. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we have another guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So joining us on the show from our Abuja studio is Kingsley Moghalu, the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and ex-presidential candidate. He's a political economist, lawyer, former United Nations official. He'll be sharing with us his views on the state of the nation, security, volatile state of his region, the Southeast. Welcome to the show, sir. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, good to have you on. Let's start very quickly with...
Thank you.
Yeah, let's start very quickly with this Twitter ban, because I know you're an economist also, and many have decried the economic setback banning Twitter would have on our economy. What are your general thoughts on this, sir?
Well, I think, it sends a very wrong message in terms of the investment climate of the country. Yes, it will stifle foreign investment. We know in the first place that Twitter bypassed Nigeria and went to Ghana to set up operations. It will also affect a lot of small and medium-scale businesses. SMEs, they make up about 90% of all the businesses in Nigeria. And I want you to understand that the informal economy, where you will find a lot of these small enterprises, make up about 65% of Nigeria's GDP. Yeah. So it's going to cramp the hustle of several Nigerians. And this is just not good at all.
Right. Well, some people who have said that the Twitter ban was really done to, you know, just foster unity in our country, that there's just so much negative rhetoric on Twitter anyways, you know, apart from the tweet, that major controversial tweet itself. They're just constantly fighting between regions, you know, across religious lines, ethnicity, and things like that. And so people are saying maybe this ban would help foster some form of unity and remind us of where we're meant to be.
I've lost sound.
Oh.
Okay.
Did you hear
me now?
Okay.
Did you hear her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, I'm not hearing her anymore.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So some people have said Twitter has been toxic anyways. You know, apart from this controversial tweet that brought about the ban, there's just so much negativity on Twitter anyway. People are constantly fighting across religious and ethnic lines anyway. So maybe, you know, economically, it's not the right thing, it's not the best thing for right now. But to foster unity and bring Nigerians back to believing in each other, maybe this is a good step.
Do you agree with that?
No, you didn't hear me.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. There are problems with social media all over the world, including in Nigeria. But that's a very different thing from saying that the government trying to cripple the constitutional right to free expression by Nigerian citizens will bring about national unity. I don't see how that works, because I think what it's doing is that it is uniting many citizens, especially young people, who use Twitter as a platform against the government. So I think, you know, while they may have a legal right to stop Twitter's operations because Nigeria is a sovereign country and can control its space, but the political and economic and social effect, I don't think is positive at all. I think it's quite negative. Issues of the toxicity of Twitter is a different matter. I think it's for Twitter to regulate its users and for us to find a way to improve the value of Twitter as a means of exchange between ourselves.
Right. Okay.
So that's what I would say.
So I need to take you into the Southeast and the insecurity challenges going on there. It's been,
yes.
it was mentioned by the Minister Alhaji Mohammed that the IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu's tweets were not taken down, and sort of we can see the level of violence that increased in the Southeast with the rhetorics concerning burning down security, killing security officials, burning down of police stations. What would you say concerning the IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu and the insecurity that has really increased within the Southeast?
Well, let me, first of all, address the insecurity. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
I hear you.
Okay. On the insecurity, more broadly, I personally condemn any violence in the Southeast or anywhere else in Nigeria, whether it's violence against security officers of the state, whether it is political assassinations such as Ahmed Gulak, whether it is also, as has been reported, extrajudicial killings of innocent civilians by security forces, perhaps on the suspicion that they are part of secessionist agitations. So I think, we must condemn violence in all forms. Yeah. The next thing I would say is that we need these incidents to be clearly investigated and the public informed of who exactly is behind them. Yes. I don't think that has quite happened yet. There are a lot of things that are going on in the Southeast. There's also political rivalry between some political personalities, we know. So there's a mixture of various things, and it's a very confusing situation. But I believe that peace must be restored in the region. But I also believe that an excessive militarization of the Southeast is ultimately not the best solution to what is fundamentally a political problem. And so I think the government needs to go into the question of the agitations and what's the root of it, what's causing it. That's what I would call leadership. If the only thing you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. And you hammer away. Well, that doesn't necessarily solve the problems.
Right. Okay, let me get a few more questions if we go anymore.
So it's calculated by certain agencies how much we've lost so far since the ban. Someone puts it at 12 billion e-commerce. That's what they said on The Guardian, front page of The Guardian this morning. Said 12 billion e-commerce suffers as Twitter ban, and 7.5 billion naira lost in 3 days, according to the front page of The Guardian headline this morning. How do you calculate what we've lost so that we understand how important it is commercially?
Well, there are various ways of making such calculations. I have not read this particular report, but I would want to suppose that it is credible.
Okay.
It may not be exact.
Right.
A lot of these things are estimations. But the important thing is that significant economic value is being destroyed by the federal government's decision.
All right,
and that is wrong, because that means that it is acting against the interest of Nigerians, ultimately.
Let's come to the issue of leadership. At this point,
yes,
people are simply tired. I mean, in the Southeast, people feel unsafe. In the Southwest, South, Middle Belt, everywhere in the country. In your view right now, where the secessionists are there, those who are coming for self-determination, restructuring, what is the way forward? Because some are saying, you know what, if they want to secede, let them secede. Some are saying if they want to self-determine themselves, fine, just let us be peace. As a leader who you also aspire to become president one day, what is the right strategy for the presidency or the president to adopt at this moment where the voice for division is so loud across all regions? What's the strategy at this time?
Yes. If I were to be president of Nigeria and I were to face this sort of situation, the way forward is as follows. One, you must bring down the temperature. The way to bring down the temperature is to reach out to all these agitators and to say what's driving your agitation. It is obvious that we do not have an inclusive government in this country.
Okay.
I don't think we need to debate that.
Right.
When people feel excluded and marginalized, they react in different ways. Beyond that, I would go forward to initiate and support the process of fundamental constitutional restructuring of Nigeria based on a new people's constitution.
Right.
The Nigerian state is increasingly losing legitimacy in the eyes of many of its citizens.
Right.
And a true leader would respond to this by doing something fundamental that addresses the problem. Not pretend that the problem doesn't exist, or simply view everyone who is protesting as a troublemaker. That is the reflex of a dictatorship, not the reflex of a democracy.
Yeah. You know, there's this thing that worries me when we have people come out to run for office. Our country is usually based, we tend to choose people based on where they're from and the religion that they practice. And sometimes we see people, especially, let me be specific, like from the Southeast, when we say leaders are coming out of the Southeast to run for president, many people will say, we don't want anyone from the Southeast to ever be president of Nigeria because they have this secessionist ambition. Can we trust them to come and be leaders of our country and so unite us? Look at what is happening already in the region. Can a non-Southeastern Nigerian trust a leader from the Southeast to run for president and be the president of Nigeria and maintain the unity that we have been clamoring for, that we constantly preach about?
That's a very good question. Let me respond to it and just allow me a little bit of time to express myself. The reason you have this type of situation is because of the very toxic narratives that have been peddled around in the Nigerian space, arising from the country's history. Secondly, I want to tell you that these narratives are wrong because a vast majority of Nigerians from the Southeast are peace-loving people who want to remain part of Nigeria. They may have their issues with the Nigerian state, but not everybody wants to secede simply because they come from the Southeast. You have to distinguish these two things. After all, people from other parts of Nigeria also have complaints against the central government, whether it's in the South-South or in the Southwest. Would you accuse all of them of being secessionists? Should we say that everybody from northern Nigeria is a Boko Haram? These kinds of narratives should stop. They are nonsensical. Going specifically, let me give you myself as an example. I worked in the United Nations for nearly 20 years, helping to rebuild failed states, resolving conflicts, the type of which we are seeing in Nigeria today. I am offering myself to be president of Nigeria with a vision to heal our country. So it's not about where I come from. It's about the individual. What's his vision? What's his capacity to govern? People should not be stereotyped. I think it's wrong.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
I want to go back to your aspirations, and I read a comment earlier that we can't, social media didn't cause the problems that we're seeing in Nigeria, and also the fact that many people have been severely suppressed, and they feel a sense of our voices are not heard. And these are the people that can easily become tools in the hands of anyone who can say the right thing at the right time. And there's a school of thought that I sort of agree with that says that the lack of unity in the Southeast has led to the power that is seemingly given to Nnamdi Kanu, that if the Southeastern leaders had come together and galvanized the young hands that are now seemingly being put into Eastern Security Network and IPOB, if we had used them positively, if they had spoken up in time, we won't give Nnamdi Kanu the platform he has now to say that he's bringing the Southeast together, he's speaking for the people. Do you agree with that school of thought? And what would you say should have been done at the right time to stem the level of separationist comments that are coming from the Southeast right now?
Again, I want to remind you that you should not conflict the decibel of noise coming from some individuals in the region as representing the majority view in the region. I want you to be very careful. Secondly, I have criticized myself in the past the governors in the region for not having acted quickly enough to establish a security network when the herdsmen, the killer herdsmen terrorists, were ravaging the region. The Southwest governors came together across party lines and set up Amotekun. It was controversial, but self-defense is the first law of nature. Nobody can allow, and no responsible leader can allow any group of people to be coming into their jurisdiction, killing people, raping people, taking their property. So, you know, if the federal government is unable, as has been the case, to restrain or prosecute or stop this terrorism, then the state governments had a responsibility to stop it.
Right.
Somehow. But they did not act on time. In that vacuum, the IPOB moved in and set up their own security network. So the Southeast governors have now set up a network they call Adebayo, but I don't believe they acted on time.
Right.
And nature abhors a vacuum.
All right. Let me go to the issue of constitutional review, because the Deputy Senate President Omagege has said that the current constitutional review that is ongoing by the Senate, where they're going to various regions, is the best they can do, because the Constitution doesn't allow them to do anything outside that, because people are demanding that, let us renegotiate. He's saying that the Constitution we have right now does not give us that opportunity to renegotiate according to Section 8 or Section 9 or so. That has to be amended. That has to be either expunged or amended first before we now have the constitutional backing to have a new conversation. In your view, I mean, do you think, is it right? And if it's right, how best do we go about to have this renegotiation legally?
Well, thank you. This is a very important question as well. You can take a legalistic approach to the matter of constitutional review, or you can take an approach that actually wants to renegotiate, restore, and stabilize Nigeria. The constitutional review process that is going on will not solve Nigeria's problems. Nigeria needs to be born again. Nigeria needs a rebirth. It needs a new constitution made genuinely by the people. And I think if we're serious about that, we will find a way to do it. There's something called the doctrine of necessity. The current National Assembly can also create a legal framework that allows for the convocation of a constituent assembly to frame a new constitution. It's a constitutional amendment itself.
Exactly.
You see? So this is what, you know, there are several ways that this problem can be effectively addressed. It's about political will.
So, sir, sorry to focus so much on the East, but we know a lot of these agitations coming from the East are getting more louder by the day. The president before 2019 had done something that I don't think is talked about enough. All the soldiers who took part on the side of Biafra in the war were settled and reinstated into the Nigerian army, and their entitlements paid to them by this administration. And you said they didn't act on time to quell the agitations. Are you aware of that? And what do you think? Was it not enough?
Well, there are many bases why people feel dissatisfied with the government and with the Nigerian state generally. Right now, for example, you will see that all the heads of the three constitutional arms of government come from one part of the country and one religion. The president, the Chief Justice, and the Senate President. If you look at the National Security Council, or if you look at the security architecture of Nigeria, you will see that it is heavily skewed in a particular direction. The Southeast, for example, will tell you that they are not even seriously represented there. So there are many fundamental issues that cannot be swept under the carpet by processes such as repaying people their gratuities or whatever. That is good, but it doesn't address the fundamental issue.
Right.
There is a fundamental issue of alienation that some parts of this country are feeling.
Right.
And the more we pretend about it, the less we're able to solve the problem and unite this country and take it forward into prosperity. That is my vision, and that is why I have declared again my interest to contest for the presidency in 2023. Because if you give me Nigeria as its president, in 4 years, you will not recognize it.
Okay.
Because I will bring leadership that is effective.
Right. You know, let's stay on this, your vision for being president of Nigeria for a little while. I said that this past 4 years, in fact 8 years, has allowed for me to ask different questions of people who are asking to lead our country. You know, there used to be a time, just what you said now was enough for me to clap for you. I will change it in 4 years. But these are our issues right now, security. And we're talking deaths on a daily basis, kidnapping of our children from schools. No one is safe anymore. People drive out to drive out of their homes. They don't come back because people are kidnapping them. Health sector, total decay. Education, almost non-existent. Our security forces fighting the Boko Haram, same, no arms, no ammunition. That is the state of our country right now. And then we have people complaining about how expensive running the government is in Nigeria. We're talking about bicameral and unicameral legislation. This is where we are right now. So we need a person with great vision to come to try to be our president. So what exactly would you be doing and offering Nigerians?
In my announcement of my interest in the presidency of Nigeria in 2023, I said that Nigeria needs, and I will bring, a visionary and inclusive and competent leadership on the one side. On the other side, the country needs to be constitutionally restructured. So I have identified the fundamental issues, and I shared a vision codenamed SWAG, S-W-A-G, SWAG agenda, and that is security for Nigerians and for the Nigerian territory, a war against poverty, accelerated education and health care reform, and good governance. SWAG. So I'm the man with the swag.
We figure
and you should check out people's track records when you are assessing them. Not just their promises. Check what I've done in the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian economy. Check what I did in the United Nations.
All right, so
check what I've done as a professor, and then you can come to your conclusions.
All right, so you have obviously used our show to campaign for yourself, but thank God it's not yet time for campaign. But I think going back to the issue, going back to the issue, one of the most heartbreaking things is the fact that our legislature at this time seems to be mute. I mean, you will think at this time the various representatives of the people will begin some aggressive conversation within the House where they are debating. And I mean, I must first appreciate what the senators are doing across the country, we are commendable. But the real conversation where we are seeing the debates, the pulse of Nigerians being reflected in the conversations in the House, we haven't seen that much. In your view, what can they begin to do to at least amplify the voices of the masses at this time in the House?
First of all, I think that if members of the National Assembly are not reflecting the voice or the will of the people who voted for them, the people have the option of a recall proceeding. But you see, our electorate is not very sophisticated. And this is why voter education is very essential ahead of the 2023 elections. People need to understand that the power lies in their hands and that we should not sit back and watch helplessly as either the executive or the legislature fail to live up to the proper standard. What happens in Nigeria is that the presidency is very powerful. And what we're seeing today is that the legislature is not as independent as it could be or should be, or perhaps even once was. So this is not good for democracy,
right,
where we have every voice singing from the same hymn sheet. And meanwhile, the people of Nigeria are getting poorer. They are getting less secure. I want to remind you that in 2016, 70 million Nigerians were living in extreme poverty. Today, they are about 100 million. So in 5 years, about 30 million people have become extremely poor. This is just not acceptable.
All right, we have to wrap up.
The reason it is happening is because the Nigerian people are letting it happen. That's why 2023 is going to be a watershed for Nigeria.
All right, I have to run, unfortunately. Let me take a few comments on Facebook, if we can we get some talk by?
Bukola Ogutimei says, in fact, more and more people are tilting towards breakup of this country. We need to start having that conversation on the way forward. We are tired of the status quo, which favors only few in this country. Then Bilikis Mafe said, you have pushed me to Facebook by force. You have chased me away from Twitter. You know, and she's saying a glorious day to all of us on the show. Babatunde said, 1966 coup is fresh in the minds of politicians. I think that's in answer to what you're saying.
Any other one you want to take?
Josh Simon says, I hope they know that what they are doing. Nigeria has lost about 4.4 billion already in just 2 days of the Twitter ban. The government is telling us that they are not willing to fight security, because if they do, they would have thought of the security implication the ban on Twitter will cost Nigerians.
All right, that's what we can take on the show. Thank you very much, Kingsley Moghalu, for joining us this morning. We appreciate you and your thoughts. We wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a while I spoke with you guys, and I enjoyed it. You're very brilliant, all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, let's wrap up the show. Thank you very much, ladies. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.